back, S'mores, to Beyond the Campfire. We are back in the studio, guys. We're back here in the barn. It feels great. Steven, how about that intro video?
Man, yeah, that was truly something, man. Yeah, life's great. We're back in the barnyard. We got a theme song. We got an intro video. We are back, baby. I love this. I'm excited for what's to come. But yeah, we are back. Beyond the Campfire. New, improved, and revitalized.
Yeah, right now I am pulling up to give a shout out to the person who has actually made our wonderful intro and outro video. Yes, there will be an outro video now, guys. Shout out to Chic Art on Fiverr who gave us that wonderful video. And I'm truly excited, man. We're back in the barn for a little bit. We've got a great intro outro video. We got a great episode coming up. I'm excited. I'm pumped. You're pumped. We're pumped. Everybody's pumped.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a great time. As you guys know, we could not be in the barnyard for a while because of a hurricane and just, other things, me living far apart and things like that. But yeah, this is our first episode back in the barnyard for a while. And yeah, you know what? Shall we get right into it?
Let's get cracking, Steve.
All right, let's do it. So we got our campfire. I got my Dr. Peppy. And today we are talking about the Flannan Isles lighthouse. Hopefully I'm saying that right. If you are Scottish and I am mispronouncing that, feel free to roast me.
Flannan sounds about right. I think that sounds right. Maybe.
Yeah, so anyway, the Flannan Isles lighthouse was a... Well, let's set the scene a little bit. So it's 1900, beginning of the 20th century. And you have the Flannan Isles. It's a series of islands off the coast of Scotland. And naturally, various things are going on at these islands. You need just lighthouse keepers to keep the light going, get ships sailing, get resources deposited. And so in December of 1900, you have 3 lighthouse keepers on one of the islands. The island of... I'll have to find it in my notes in just a second, but yeah, it's the islands north of Scotland, and you had the lighthouse there. What happens is, in December of 1900, the light goes out, people are wondering what's going on, a backup lighthouse keeper goes to see it, and the 3 men are gone without a trace.
Oh, we got another disappearance. We had D.B. Cooper recently, but I don't think we've had a person disappearance recently. I don't think, besides D.B.
Yeah, no, so another missing persons case in this event. We have 3 men missing, and we're going to get into it. We're going to get into the theories, what happened leading up to the disappearance of these 3 men, and then, yeah, at the end of the episode, we'll give you guys our theories of what we think happened with these guys. So, Will, before I dive into the facts, is there anything else we need to say, do, or talk about?
Buy our merch. We got mugs and hats. And
there you go. Buy our merch. And obviously, if you don't follow us on social media, you can find us on pretty much everything. We're on Twitter, now called X, TikTok, Instagram, all that. So just search up Beyond the Campfire podcast and we should come up. So, let's get into this mystery. So, it's the year 1900. You had this lighthouse that was built a year earlier, 1899. So this is not an old lighthouse. It's not like old and dusty and creaky. This is a brand spanking new lighthouse. Light fixtures are up. Foundation is firm. This is something that supposedly should be built to last. And yet, let's see what happened. So, any comments, thoughts, or anything so far?
No, I'm ready to get into it, man. Let's talk about this brand new lighthouse that just took 3 people.
Alright, so, Flannan Isles Lighthouse. You have the 3 men. Their names are Thomas Marshall, James Ducat, and Donald MacArthur. So, what happens in the early 1900s is, the light goes out, you have a man go and explore it, and he says, a dreadful accident has happened at the Flannans. The ship that traveled out to investigate reported that all 3 lighthouse keepers had vanished. The captain who was investigating added this: "On our arrival there this afternoon, no sign of life was to be seen on the island." Well, he wasn't exactly right about that. I'll get to that in just a second. But yeah, they searched around. No bodies were found. There were signs of some storm damage, which I'll get into one of those theories in just a second. But yeah, the ship that came out to investigate it was a ship called the Hesperus, led by Captain Jim Harvey, who led most of the investigation. So, on December 26, 1900, the Hesperus docked at the bottom of a steep cliff. Alone, relief lighthouse keeper Joseph Moore climbed 160 steps. Didn't work out in there, up to the lighthouse. When he opened the door, Moore discovered a scene frozen in time. The clock on the wall stood silent. The table was set, waiting for men who would never return. Moore found, and this is where I said the other captain wasn't exactly correct, that there was no life left. Moore found only one living creature at the lighthouse: a canary who sat quietly in a cage.
Yikes! That's very spooky. Because it's not just like they disappeared, or like it's not like went there, everything's damaged and the place is deserted. We went in there and found out that they had dinner ready. The clock was chiming, or it was supposed to be, and everything was like the rapture happened. Just poof, gone.
Yeah, what's interesting to me is I'll go ahead and say one of the theories. One of the theories is that a storm came through and swept these men out to sea. If that was the case, I don't know, it's kind of weird that this canary is still there. Now, again, the theory kind of posits that the guys went outside and then they were swept, but like, why did all 3 of them go outside? Why didn't 2 of them stay in, or 1 of them stay in? Why was it all 3? Also, why is the canary being quiet? I don't know if you've seen birds before, but birds, usually they're kind of chirping or saying something, but yeah, this canary just, you walk in and he's just kind of sitting there quietly. That's pretty eerie.
It kind of reminds me of, I recently watched all of Twin Peaks. Great TV show, great movie. Don't like the 3rd season. 3rd season, I could take it or leave it. But, the whole premise is they're trying to solve this murder, and they found a bird. It's like one of those that talks. And so once the bird actually started talking, it was like saying the lady who died, her last few moments. So it's kind of like, you're right, like, why is this bird just quietly sitting in the corner? Why is the table set? Like you said, if they got swept away in the storm, you feel like there'd be a little bit more damage. But why would you go outside in the storm in the first place? At least why would all 3, the table being set, the bird in the corner, it just kind of doesn't sit right with me.
Yeah, it's just really weird facts. So, Moore continues his investigation. He says, "I did not take time to search further, for I only too well knew something serious had occurred. I darted out and made for the landing." Some more, he gets back on the ship, the Hesperus. Hopefully I'm saying that right, Hesperus. He reported what he'd found. 2 more sailors joined the search for the missing men. But the investigation only deepened the Flannan Isles mystery. In the lighthouse, the searchers discovered an oilskin, protection against the rough northern weather, meaning one of the lighthouse keepers must have run from the lighthouse during the great storm without his rain gear. Again, weird. If there's a storm happening, why would the lighthouse keeper run without his protective, rain equipment? It's just weird. It's really weird.
That is kind of weird, because, it's just, none of it's adding up. You've got, like you said, you've got table set, bird in the corner, and then when they investigate further, they're like, oh, by the way, somebody didn't take their raincoat, so they did go out in the storm and did get swept away. Somebody didn't take their coat with them. And that's just kind of like a little bit more mysterious.
Yeah, and again, you have a big raging storm coming. You have this brand new lighthouse that's built firm and sturdy. I don't know about you, but I'm staying in that lighthouse. I'm not getting out for anything. But yeah, on the western side of the isle, the storm's power had left its mark. iron railings had been bent in the wind. So this was a pretty massive storm. I don't know about you, Will, but iron normally does not bend, especially not from wind.
Can you say that word again?
Iron railings bent? Which one?
Iron.
Iron? Yeah.
Iron.
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 Okay, alright, anyway. That's going in the compilation. Okay. But yeah, an enormous boulder had rolled out of its place, and a supply box lay smashed on the ground with its contents spread across the rocky island. So you have all this equipment, you have all this stuff, but no sign of the 3 vanished men. This is what Captain Harvey wrote in his report to the Northern Lighthouse Board. So, you know, when an accident happens, when you have lighthousers go missing, there's this Northern Lighthouse Board, which is responsible for all the lighthousemen in the area, and Captain Harvey made this report to them. He said, "Poor fellows, they must have been blown over the cliffs or drowned trying to secure a crane or something like that." In his telegram report, the captain also noted, "Nothing appears touched at East Landing to show that they were taken from there. On the west side, it is somewhat different. We had an old halfway up the railing for holding West Landing mooring ropes and tackle, but it was gone." Was the West Landing where the men died? Now, there's nothing to give us an indication that it was there that the poor men lost their lives, the captain warned. Robert Muirhead, the Lighthouse Board superintendent, who had personally recruited these 3 men, so, you know, he's probably feeling a little bit responsible for what happened. He decided that he was going to travel to the Flannan Isles and conduct his own investigation.
Yeah, this is... Because usually, like, you know, if somebody goes missing or somebody swept away in a storm, like, I mean, yeah, the railing, the iron railing, you know, it's bent back, you've got damaged tools, you've got this boulder that fell, you've got some equipment is missing, but then you've got, like, the table set, the birds quiet in the corner, like, all of this, and it's like, what happened? You know, it's like, instead of, during their investigation, they're not solving it, they're thickening the plot, you know, making it more of a mystery.
For sure. So, Captain Harvey, Moore, they do their search. This new guy, the one of the superintendents of the Lighthouse Board, he does his own investigation. Here are some of his conclusions of what happened. So this is what he says. Muir had declared that Flannan Isle was merely an accident. In his official report, Muir had stated that 2 men had traveled to the West Landing around dinner time on December 15th. They hoped to secure ropes and the supply box. An extra-large sea had rushed up the face of the rock, Muir had speculated, had gone above them, and coming down with immense force, had swept them completely away. So Muirhead also seems to believe giant waves came, grabbed them, and pulled them back out to sea. Wind could not have been the cause, Muirhead reasoned, because the direction of the wind would have pushed the men toward the island rather than out to sea. So from what Muirhead is saying, he's saying the winds, the way it was blowing, should have pushed them in onto the sea. But then, to me, that kind of begs a further question. If the waves are coming in, and the wind is kind of pushing, I guess, off against it to the other way, is it really possible for these 3 men to be swept out to sea? Yeah, see, like, I don't know, it's weird. It's almost like he's contradicting himself. But yeah, the official report didn't end with speculation. But along the windswept islands of the Hebrides... Okay, this is where... Well, actually, this is kind of where the official reports end. And then this is where some of the theories come in. So, any thoughts on the official reports? Both of them agree that this was an accident, that the storm was involved. But they seem to disagree on some of the details. Captain Harvey seems to think that wind played a factor into it. He's the one that saw the iron railings being bent. And then Muirhead seems to think that the waves did it. So both of them say it's natural causes, but they're pointing to do different things. So what do you think of the official reports?
It kind of sounds like to me, when you think about it, like you said, this is like an international board. The first guy comes on the island, kind of sees what's going on, tries to come to a conclusion of what he thinks could have happened, for the reason why everything happened. And then you've got this guy from the official board, and, we've got this running theme on the podcast where we hate the government. So it kind of makes me wonder, maybe did they try to do a rush job? They didn't really want to investigate it too much because who knows what they could uncover, who knows how further down they would have to go this rabbit hole, how much more money they would have to spend trying to solve this mystery. Why not just say, okay, it was waves, this is the official report, waves pulled them into the ocean, they drowned, they're gone, that's it, let's get back to running this lighthouse. I kind of feel like that's probably the reason why those reports are the way they are, is because, like I said, they want to do kind of a rush job, get through it as quick as possible, and get done with it as soon as possible.
Yeah, I know for sure. So this is what I think. Because, this is the National Lighthouse Board, but I obviously think some arms of the government are more corrupt than others. I think you guys, if you watch the Wake episode, we're not fans of the ATF or anything like that. But, National Lighthouse Board, I don't really see a reason for the National Lighthouse Board to be corrupt. So I think the guys that were investigating, I don't think they were lying, but I think the theories they came up with doesn't really adequately explain the evidence that they found. So I don't know. What are you thinking?
Well, that's why what I'm trying to say is I'm not trying to say the Lighthouse Board is corrupt. What I'm trying to say is it possible that upon doing their investigation, upon doing their research, they kind of were like sitting here like we are, okay, if you start looking into, okay, how was the railing bent? Which way was it bent? Or why is the dinner table set? Why is the bird in the corner? Why is this? Why is this? And you start asking more questions, you're not getting answers, you're getting more questions. Maybe they were like, we want to, get the lighthouse up and running again. We want to get this investigation over with. Not to say they're trying to be corrupt, but maybe they're like, we're wasting money trying to investigate this. We're probably not going to really try to find the reason. Let's find the most logical explanation that we can find, just looking at a couple of the clues. And maybe they contradict each other, but that's why I feel like what they're trying to do is they're just trying to, back then it's not like where we have today, where you can do forensics, you can do this, you can do that. They didn't have a lot of technology back then. They probably didn't really want to waste time and money and resources knowing these men are probably dead at this point.
Yeah, no, and that totally makes sense, but yeah, let's get into the theories, and then I guess we'll wrap up the episode with which one we think is correct. But I have several theories. So the first one, I feel like this is a theory with almost everything, but the first one is aliens. Some of the locals believe that aliens had descended from the stars, from the heavens, beamed these guys up, and that's where they are now. They are being experimented on. So that was one of the first theories.
I was wondering, I was like, is he gonna, if I was sitting there listening the whole time, and I'm like, sounds like aliens to me. And I'm like, okay, how long is it gonna take before he says it was aliens? And Steven, he gets me in the first go there. All right, what else we got?
Yep, right off the bat. Another common theory in the local community was that a giant sea serpent rose out of the ocean and swallowed up these three men. Why they believe that? I do not know. But that's a theory. That's one theory that came up.
You know what we could do? We could cross over. I could do a crossover. Because it's just in Scotland. You know what else is in Scotland?
Loch Ness Monster, right? There we go, yeah. The Loch Ness Monster did it. Came out of the... We haven't done the Loch Ness Monster episode, have we?
No, we've not.
That might be on the list of things to do. But yeah, these locals seem to believe that a giant sea serpent had done it. So, we got aliens, we got sea serpent. Alright, this one I find very intriguing. So this one has to do with the crew members themselves. This is a theory that one of the lightkeepers killed the other two and then was swept out into the ocean. here's where this theory comes from. One of the lighthouse keepers, MacArthur, was known for having a short temper. So this guy, he got angry a lot. He was known for getting into a lot of fights. So, he'd go to the bar, he'd get ragingly drunk, and he'd just start punching guys. He'd start fighting. Was it possible that he got drunk that night, killed the 2 other guys, and not knowing what else to do, ran without grabbing his rain gear and got swept out into the ocean? I don't know. I have a little bit more evidence to back up that theory, but what are your initial thoughts on that?
Where's the other bodies?
That's a good point. That is a very good point. But maybe he tried to throw the... Oh, actually, this is part of the theory. The theory was he threw their bodies into the ocean, but because a storm was happening, he actually ended up getting caught up into it as well. Yeah, but I don't know. You would think maybe there'd be some blood or something in the lighthouse. That obviously wasn't found. But well, I guess it would depend on how he killed them. But here's some things that possibly back up that theory. There are stories of a logbook. Now, again, this logbook hasn't been found. But there's some men that had checked in on the lighthouse keepers before, and they claimed that they read some of the logbook. And they said this was some of the things that they had read in the logbook. Let's see. One second. Do you have a joke to tell while I'm looking for it?
Yeah, I had a joke to tell. No, going off the whole murder thing, I'm just going to tell you. We here at Beyond the Campfire, we love our cast and crew. And I just have the feeling that if we all worked on a lighthouse, I feel like the person that would kill us all is Haley. I feel like she'd get tired of us and she'd kill us all.
There you go. Gotta shout out the editor. Okay, so in the supposed logbook, a man named Marshall had written about the despair during the storm, the increasing agitation of MacArthur, and how MacArthur was continuously getting more and more drunk and angrier each night the storm passed. His final entry was praying for protection from the storm and from MacArthur on December 15th. That was the very last entry in the supposed logbook. So, who knows, man? It didn't mention MacArthur killing them, but it did say he was getting more and more drunk and angrier each night they were stuck in the lighthouse. So, that's what I have from that theory. And I like that theory not so much because it's supernatural or whatever, but I think I like that theory because it at least has some kind of more hard backing to it than some of the other theories did. I got a couple more theories, but I'll just go off. I'm not gonna say this is the one I believe the most, but I think this is my favorite theory out of all of the ones I'm gonna list. But any last minute thoughts before I get into the final theories?
No, I like obviously I like the alien theory, but I think the theory I like the most so far is definitely the murder theory. It does make you kind of wonder, okay, could MacArthur have taken the logbook and had it with him after the murder, so then that might be what happened in the logbook. But yeah, I mean, I get questioning, okay, well, why there's no blood, but if you really think about it, I mean, you can kill people without shedding a drop of blood. Plus, if he really was sitting there trying to get those bodies out, and take them out to dump and get rid of them, he might have cleaned up, might have made the place look tidy. So I kind of like that theory. I'm kind of leaning towards that theory, but I'm ready to hear the other theories.
Yeah, so there actually is only one theory left, but I do want to say this. So the entries were written, there's entries from that logbook on the 12th, 13th, and 14th. However, weather reports from that time said that there was no storm during that time. So again, just more fishiness going on. But here's the final theory, and this one actually relates to maybe a legend or a cryptid or something we could tie in. But for several decades before this incident, people on the Flannan Isles reported this creature slash ghost called the Phantom of the Seven Hunters. What the Phantom of the Seven Hunters is, it wasn't decades. They believed in this creature for centuries. So, for centuries, people on the Flannan Isles spoke of the Phantom of the Seven Hunters. A supernatural being who was believed to have carried off people to who knows where. Flannan Island had been inhabited since around 650 AD, when pilgrims had subsequently come to see this home. And yeah, we have reports as early as 650 AD of people disappearing from the island, and people blaming this Phantom of the Seven Hunters. And so local legend started to believe, hey, this is the latest iteration of the Phantom of the Seven Hunters. He had been kidnapping people since 650 AD, and these three lighthouse keepers are just the latest incarnation of his kidnapping schemes.
Wow. I forget the murder theory. I like that theory. I think that, to me, is now my new favorite theory. You have any more theories, or is that it?
That's it. So I guess we'll go ahead and get into which ones we believe, which one we feel are realistic, which one we feel aren't realistic. So yeah, let's run through them, and yeah, we'll wrap up the episode. So alien theory, now, I do think aliens were involved in an episode we did a few weeks ago, because that one was the closest I've come to believing in aliens, the airplane. But
wait, are you serious? That was like you almost believed in aliens then?
With that one, there was the weird noise, there's the green lights. So that one, multiple people saw it. There's weird sounds. Like that one, I was just like, okay, there's a lot of evidence. With this one, it's just like people are saying aliens, but like no lights, no weird noises. I'm just like, okay, I'm kind of throwing out the alien theory. Do you believe that one? Do you think that one has any credibility?
I think I agree with you that the Frederick Valentine's disappearance that we talked about a couple weeks ago, that one definitely had like evidence to say, hey, there's the possibility of aliens abducting someone. And of course, we'll cover other alien abduction stories on this podcast that probably will eventually maybe make us even a believer at some point. But the problem with that theory is nobody saw anything. There was no reports. There was nothing really to kind of show the idea that they could have been abducted. I mean, the whole dinner plate being set up, everything like that, that's a little weird. But like I said, I truly don't think it's the alien theory, because there's nothing else to kind of back that up.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that maybe suggested is the bodies were never found, which, like, weird, but yeah, we'll keep moving along. The storm theory, I actually think this one is probably the most true. I know it's the boring theory. It doesn't explain why the rain gear was left. It doesn't explain a lot of things. But it's one of those things where I'm just like, I could see something coming up that all three of the guys run out there in haste. They kind of are not expecting the storm to be as bad as it is, and it comes and takes them away. So, although my favorite theory is the murder theory, I actually believe the storm theory the most. Now, you're probably going to... I think you're probably going to agree that it's a likely one, but I don't think you're going to say that's your favorite one by any means.
It's not my favorite one. And it's not the one that I think is most likely. And the reason being is because, like you said, there was some people that said there was reports that there was no storm that night. The dinner table being set, the bird being quiet, there's so much evidence. I just don't think it's as simple as a wave washed up on shore and dragged these men to their death. I don't think it's that simple and that easy.
That's fair, and with me saying the storm theory is the most plausible, I have to ignore a lot of stuff. So, that's fair. The murder theory, it's interesting. It's cool, a lot of people say, if you want to make a story interesting, add either, like, sex, drugs, or murder. So, you You got the murder in this one. But yeah, I mean, sure, MacArthur was a bit of a brawler. He got drunk. I don't know if an experienced lighthouse guy gets angry enough to murder the other two guys. I just don't know about that. So, although it's my favorite theory, I'm not going to say it's a plausible theory, at least in my mind. But what do you think?
I think it's the most plausible theory. That's what I think.
Okay.
The reason why I think, and this is just my thought, is you're saying, okay, this guy definitely probably does not have murderous tendencies. But if you think about it, these guys are living together on an island, away from other people. Who knows what that can do to a guy, you know? And like, in the whole table being set, the bird being quiet, that kind of thing, kind of, to me, almost adds more evidence to it. Maybe the bird saw the murder, and that's why it's quiet. It's kind of like, you know, shell shock kind of thing. Like, I can't believe I just watched this. The table being set, realistically, like you were saying, if he murdered him and you're like, there's no blood, well, who's to say? Maybe he cleaned everything up, you know, set the table, made everything look normal, so then he could just blame it as, oh, these guys disappeared, and in the process of getting rid of the bodies, he got taken out. And that could explain a lot of certain things, and that's just why I kind of feel like the murder theory is the most plausible, because like we said with the storm and all that, we don't really know, but with the murder theory, I feel like it explains some more things than the storm theory would explain.
All right, sea monster theory. I just don't even know where that one came from. So yeah, I'm throwing that one out. What do you think?
As cool as it may seem to be imagining these guys being attacked by a gigantic sea snake, I don't think it's true.
Which brings us to the Phantom of the Seven Warriors. I don't really believe that one, but I do think it's pretty cool that there was like this legend that was out there for centuries and now could be applied to this case. But what do you think, Will? Was there something supernatural going on at work that caused these men to disappear?
I like, listen, out of all the theories, okay, like I said, I think the murder theory is the most plausible, but this is my favorite theory. And if I had to kind of rank them in the order of which ones I think were most likely, I think the murder theory is the most likely. And then I think it's the possibility of this ancient ghost that is kidnapping people. And the reason why I think that is because we here in America, you know, and all around the world, people go missing all the time. And it's not like a matter of they just went missing and then we find their body. Some people go missing and we never find anything. They just drop off the face of the earth. So I think it's kind of cool to kind of explain that there's this supernatural being that is possibly kidnapping people. And of course we'll talk about in the future, there's an episode I got planned for us where we talk about a supernatural kidnapping technically and some things like that. But I do think it's very possible that these guys were possibly taken by some supernatural being. I think that's my second theory of what, like, plausible-wise, murder, ghost guy, and then the storm. I love this theory. It's got a lot to it, and I feel like it can kind of almost explain a lot. With everything being there in place, and then just gone. Poof, where'd they go?
Yeah, no, I mean, hey guys, this is a over 120-year-old story at this point. But yeah, these men, they haven't been found. We still don't know where they are to this day. And yeah, I feel like this is just one of those mysteries where we're never really going to know what happened. But yeah, it's something to think about and ponder nonetheless. So, that's all I got. Any final words, comments, questions, concerns?
Well, I was just going to say, I definitely do agree. I think this is going to be one of those, kind of like Mary Celeste, D.B. Cooper. Well, D.B. Cooper, we're getting close to kind of remained unsolved, you know?
Alright, S'mores, well, that will do it. So, we had an intro for you guys at the beginning, and I think we've got an outro, right?
Yeah, don't let the light go out. We'll catch you guys in the next one.